Well, everybody, it is the beginning of season 3 of this podcast. I am so excited that you are here. I welcome you along for this ride. We are going to have a ton of fun in these upcoming months. These next 3 months are going to be full of great episodes. I have 11 brand new episodes, brand new content, all kinds of fun stuff coming your way. So whether you're listening to this on a podcast platform like Spotify or Apple or any of those other podcast platforms that you use, be sure to follow the podcast on those apps. Hit the reminder bells or whatever the notifications are so you're ready when they come out. We release them on Tuesdays. Also, another way you can continue to follow along is if you're watching this on YouTube, you can hit the subscribe button. The other thing you can do is subscribe to my newsletter, and I will have that link in all of the episodes, in the show notes for the episodes, so that you can click. It's free. It comes out every Saturday morning. It's not a long email. It's me talking to you about some things I don't talk about here on the podcast, and I also preview what's coming up soon. So you're the first to know if you're on that newsletter. So sign up for the newsletter. It's really a lot of fun. I love writing to you. I feel like I'm talking to my friends when I write that newsletter, and I feel when I get your support back that you're supporting me as your friend too. So I am so excited to get started with this season. And as I mentioned before, we're going to have a lot of fun this season. And today's topic, as we kick things off, is about drinking water, as you've noticed already. We're going to kind of talk about it in 3 ways. We're going to talk first about kind of what led me to start wanting to drink water in the morning, kind of instilling this into my morning routine. Like, why did I decide I want to start drinking water in the morning? That's number 1. Then the second thing I want to talk to you about is what do actual research and studies show us about how our body works after we wake up in the morning and when we add water to our system first thing in the morning. So I want to talk about some of the research that's out there. And then the third thing I want to do is talk about my personal kind of struggles with it, some successes I've had with it, and overall, how do I feel about drinking water first thing in the morning. And I've been doing this now we're going on to the 3rd month. So it's been 2 full complete months. I'm starting month 3 of drinking water in the morning. And so before I get into that, I just want to make one more note to every one of you. This podcast is all about me being your friend, giving you friendly advice, right? I am not a licensed therapist by any means. I am a trained yoga teacher, right? With a lot of background in yoga teaching, trauma-sensitive yoga, all kinds of different yogas. That type of background I have, but what I'm not is a therapist. And so the reason I am saying this to you is this. When you receive advice from people or you receive coaching from people, you have to take the advice or the coaching or whatever you want to call that, right? The conversation you're having with somebody else, and you have to employ that into your life in a way that fits your life. So I am a single 41-year-old male. I don't have children, right? I don't have a partner. I don't have some of the responsibilities that some of you may have. And so some of the advice I give you may not work exactly the way I do it. And so that is going to be very important for us to understand, especially when we're talking about this particular topic, like drinking water. You'll find out more of why I'm saying this at the end, but I really want you to be cognizant of the fact that no matter where you are in your life, whether you're younger and you're in, high school, college, and you're just trying to find your way, maybe something has happened to you in your life and you want to find your way, find a new purpose, take the advice for what it's worth and implement it into your life. Maybe you're out of college and you're working in another job. Maybe you're caring for your family and you're at home a lot. Maybe you have the kids, you're juggling schedules. Maybe you're taking care of parents. Maybe you have another family dynamic going on. Maybe you're working at home. Maybe you're working on the road. Okay, so all of these things, use the advice, use my experiences to fit into your life in the way it fits you. It's not always going to work for the way I do it is not going to work for how you do it. So I really wanted to make sure that was said, especially in this very first episode, because as we go along in all these episodes, the things we talk about are going to be derived from what's going on in my life. And so together, you and I are going to walk forward in the path of purpose. That's what yoga is all about, moving forward in purpose. You have a purpose. You have dharma, right? The reason why you are here. What is your purpose? You may not even know what your purpose is, and a lot of times the fabric of your purpose changes. So you may have a certain thing you're thinking about in your purpose, and okay, it might work this way, it might work that way. And then as you change and as you grow, some of the fabric inside of your purpose shifts and changes. And that's perfect, and it's normal, and it's a beautiful thing. So let's talk about this whole water drinking thing, right? Now, this is finally stuck. As I mentioned, I've been doing this now. We're going on to the third month, and it's finally stuck with me. But one of the things that, I talk about often on this podcast, and if you've been listening to the first couple seasons and you know that I say this often, or you're new to me, just understand this is a good refresher. There are a lot of things that we need to do in our lives that we don't want to do that are going to benefit us in the future. There are a lot of things we don't feel like doing. One of the big things with that is exercise. Most of us don't feel like exercising, right? Now, there are a group of people out there, those of you out there that have the drive and the motivation to exercise like crazy. I applaud you. I am jealous, right? I'm envious, but jealousy is only an emotion that comes on to a person when you want that thing too, and you just see someone else doing it and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that, but you can, again, in the way that works for you. For me, my exercise comes from walking and doing lots of physical yoga. And so I really, really, really want to make sure that we're aware that when it comes to doing things that are difficult, that we know are going to be better for us in the future, we need to kind of like hone in on those things. Now, of course, there are things that we don't want to do that are not going to be good for us in the future. Those are the things we do not want to do and we want to set boundaries on. But we're talking about a process that I have never liked doing, which is drinking water in the morning, ever, ever, ever. So let's talk about my mornings. Now, my mornings are difficult for me. I am not a morning person. I don't like waking up. I get anxiety when it comes to if I wake up an hour before I'm supposed to wake up, which happens, and I look at my watch because I wear my smart watch when I sleep, and I see the time, I am like, oh gosh, only another hour. I only have one more hour. What do you mean another hour? Oh, and then the anxiety starts in. It's almost like that anxiety you might get when you're going to travel, or you're going to catch a flight or a train, or you have to be at the airport at a certain time, or you're getting on the road. That kind of like travel anxiety that you get when you're getting ready to go places. That's the anxiety I get all the time when it comes to waking up. So when I wake up, I'm not generally a happy person. I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to deal with anything. And I've created a morning routine that helps me cope with mornings. And I've shared that on previous episodes of this podcast. You can go back and listen to it or watch it if you're watching on YouTube. But drinking water has been something I've tried to enter into my morning routine so many times, and I've failed every time until now. And I want to talk about why it's different. So we're going to do that. When I wake up in the morning, I honestly always feel thirsty. In fact, when I'm asleep, I get dry mouth a lot. When I wake up in the middle of the night, I feel like I have a lot of drying of the mouth, and I have water near my bed, and I guzzle a little bit and maybe go right back to sleep. But in the mornings, I've never been a person who wants to immediately chug a bunch of water, because it just feels so heavy to me and so cumbersome and so obnoxious and so annoying. Am I the only one here? I hope not. I hope that someone else out there hates drinking water in the morning too. If you do, and you're watching this on YouTube, leave me a comment telling me that you don't like to drink water in the morning either, because we do need to push through and do things sometimes that help us feel better, as I just said many, many times. So the role of waking up has never been great for me, and then the role of exercising, I've had to put that into, because of my schedule, my daily schedule. Exercising for me works best in the morning. So generally, I take some type of yoga class almost every morning. There are days where I don't take any. I have a rest day, and there are days where I teach yoga in the morning as well. So, but for the most part, 5 to 6 of the days include physical exercise for me. And so that's important to remember, right? Because I'm doing physical exercise in the morning. So it's important to remember that drinking water right before an exercise has never felt great for me either. And so I always felt like before I might wake up with some on some mornings, and maybe on a walk, or doing my yoga practice or some other kind of movement in the morning, it always felt like I was moving through this like thick honey. Like I was like, kind of like crawling my way through this insane amount of resistance. And it felt so tough, and I felt closed off and scrunched up, because when you're asleep, you're not working out your muscles, and your muscles are absorbing a bunch of water and just holding them. And so you feel stiff and you feel stagnant, and just that, that crunched feeling when you get up. So I had read before, and I had seen other people say drinking water is going to help you get moving in the morning and help you move on and get, better results throughout your day, and so on and so forth. So I thought, all right, let's give this a frickin' try again. Maybe it'll work this time. Maybe it won't work. I don't know. So that's the reason why. That's part one. Like what led me to start wanting to drink water. I was tired of getting up in the morning, feeling so stiff, feeling so cramped, feeling like my exercising was just, I don't know any other word to use other than like that stiff, closed off, scrunched up, resistant feeling. And so I thought maybe adding some water into my life in the morning will help me to wake my body up and things like that. So then I started doing some research on water and what it does. So I want to give you some research and what research and studies tell us about drinking water, and about water in particular when it comes to the human body. So our body is made up of about 60 to 70% of water. That's what the human body is made up of. 60 to 70% of our body is water. So we obviously know that water is essential for us to be alive as human beings. So we must not only get it from drinking water, but we get it from eating foods and then drinking other things, right? Like if you drink soda or you're drinking another mixed drink of some kind. I'm not talking about a cocktail, even though there is still water in a cocktail. I'm talking about, if you mix, maybe you put flavored powders or something else into your water, or you take some kind of energy booster that's a powder. Okay, you're getting your water that way too, sometimes. But for the most part, it comes from the things we drink and the things we eat. But we also need water to help our blood circulation. That's proven. That's researched. We need water to regulate our body temperature. That's proven. We need water for joint lubrication. Okay, especially in the mornings, because when you are laying down doing nothing, your fascia, or the connective tissue in your body that runs all along your body everywhere, it's stagnant and it's sometimes squished. That's why if you wake up feeling stiff, or you have that feeling of numbness somewhere in your body, maybe in your hips or in your feet or your ankles or maybe your upper body, it's because your fascia has been compressed. And now it's opening back up and releasing back to the state that it knows. So water is a big helper when it comes to moving and lubricating the joints. So we also know that water helps your cells carry excellent things to your organs, to the fascia and other tissues in your body. So we know all that. We also know that we lose water through sweat. We know that we lose water, obviously, when we go to the bathroom, and we lose water even when we're talking or breathing, because the air that's coming out of your mouth has water droplets in it. And we all know about, when you're talking about contagious, passing along germs to other people, it's because the water droplets in your mouth. So you lose water that way too. So we need to obviously replenish our water loss in general to stay hydrated, because you and I both know that when you've been dehydrated before, or you know anyone who's been dehydrated, it causes a plethora of health problems. We don't want any of that. So what's the research? So we know that water is important to us, but what actual evidence and research is there that tells us that drinking water in the morning is going to create these magical effects? Now, some research and some studies have shown, and there's been experiences out there where people have said, all of the above, the studies, the research, and personal experiences, weight loss, Some evidence cites weight loss. Some cite extra energy. Some cite improvements in your skin, maybe in your metabolism, maybe in your gut health, with your immune system, your satiation, which means, are you full? Do you feel full after drinking water? Which obviously would lead to the weight loss thing, all of that. So there's evidence that drinking water in the morning helps with some of those things in some studies, but it's not conclusive. It's pretty mixed. So if you do some research on that, you're going to see the same thing. It's a pretty mixed bag of things. And again, I'm no doctor. I'm no therapist. I'm not an MD. I just go off the research that I go through for these episodes and my own personal experience. So some studies show that they've had participants see improvements in the areas I just mentioned a moment ago, and some show that there are no changes or little change. Some experts recommend drinking a certain number of ounces, a certain ounce or cups of water. And I don't mean cups meaning the actual cup, what you're putting the water in. I'm talking about, a measuring cup. Some experts might say drink 1 cup of water, drink 2 cups of water, drink 8 ounces of water, drink 16 ounces of water, whatever. So all of these things, right? All of the studies, the research, and the experts out there with their recommendations show certainly that there are some pros and cons and ways that you can feel better or not better or whatever it might be with drinking water in the morning. Now, water can make you feel more full, as I said just a minute ago, which reduces your appetite, which will lead to less calorie intake. That's just plain as there is. If you eat less, you're taking in less calories, but we do need some calories, right? We need to be eating. We need to have calories to kind of fuel our bodies to move through days and things like that. Now, another thing that research has shown, and there's some mixed reviews on this too, is that the temperature of the water could make some differences in your metabolism. Like cold water might make your metabolism a little higher, and maybe warmer water might want to slow you down and kind of relaxes you. There's some of that out there. However, with all of those studies that I just mentioned and all of the things that we have when it comes to water drinking in the morning, we know drinking water is important in general. And that's where I'm going with this whole episode, if you haven't figured that out yet. Drinking water is important, but in the morning, it's not completely conclusive. So there is one simple fact that we do need to remember when it comes to drinking water in the morning, and that is this. If you are feeling thirsty, you need to drink water. Whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's later on in the morning, whether it's lunch, whether it's midday, whatever. You need to drink more water, because that's the signal that your body is telling you, hey, we're moving into the first stage of not having enough water. We're thirsty, get some water in. That's very proven science. When you're thirsty, you drink water. Now, so we have all of that, all right? Let's talk about what I have found for doing this in the past couple of months. So, first thing is, when I wake up, as I mentioned before, I feel stiff and I feel scrunched. And I feel lethargic and I feel grouchy and I feel grumpy. And I have dry mouth a lot when I wake up. So, when I started doing this, I started with cold water. So now in my refrigerator, I have a water filtration pitcher, and it's always in my refrigerator because I do enjoy cold water throughout most of the day if I'm drinking water. But in the morning, if I try to drink that same cold water that I would drink maybe at 12 o'clock or at 6 o'clock or later on in the evening, that does not go down very well for me. In fact, my body, when I take a drink of cold water, it literally, as it's going down, feels like my body's like, oh, I don't want any of this. It's too cold. And I can feel every single ounce of that cold water. And it's just, I can't drink. My body's like, no more cold, no more cold. So after a while doing that, I had to put the water either out of the refrigerator for the night, or I will maybe just stick it in the microwave for 25 seconds, 30 seconds. And I just have a jar that I use because I do 12 ounces. I found that 12 ounces has been the amount that's worked for me the best. But putting the water with like 35 seconds-ish, 30 seconds of microwave has brought it to a temperature that I can guzzle it down, and it goes down quickly, easily, and smoothly for me. So I do 12 ounces. I felt it was the right amount. I've tried less. I've tried more. And then I kind of played with the ounce amount. So 12 ounces for me has seemed to be the right amount of water to get into my body first thing. Now, here's what has happened. Drinking water has affected my morning movement, especially exercising, in a very positive way, because I now don't feel like I have as hard of a time moving. Remember how I said I was feeling like I was moving through honey and like this tug and pull and just lethargy and resistance and scrunchiness? I don't feel that anymore. I don't feel like I have as much of that after drinking water. And I usually exercise within the first 1 to 2 hours after I have woken up. So this is not, where I've exercised 6 hours later. I generally am exercising within the first hour to 2 hours. So the thing is, remember how I said before that there were some reports about weight or skin or your immunity even? There's even immunity studies out there that's saying you drink water and you might have better immunity. Your hair might be a little bit more resilient or softer, or, you don't have as many growth problems with hair. And then the energy thing, okay? I didn't see a ton of shifts in any kind of weight, any kind of skin changes that I've noticed. I've seen, after a month of doing the water, I actually came down with an upper respiratory infection and didn't feel well for about 3 days. So the immunity, I'm not saying that, we all have perfect immunity, because we don't, but, I did have that came on. But what I am seeing is a shift in my motivation. And we know that motivation is not something that you can rely on, because motivation is just this, your brain going, oh, I feel like it or I don't feel like it. Most of the time we don't feel like it. So you can't count on motivation. But what I do notice is that when I drink the water in the morning, which is now every morning, there is a shift in my motivation. We could call that maybe a shift in my energy. Like, all right, I feel a little more loose because the water's in. Now I feel like I can move forward and I'm not going to have resistance. And I think that is the motivation. That's like, all right, we're ready. We're a little more comfortable to get into the yoga practice or to do my walk or whatever it is I'm going to do. So those are the things I've seen a positive. I didn't see a weight loss. I didn't see a change in my appetite. My appetite did not change, right? I still wake up in the morning and I'm usually hungry. And when I drink water, that doesn't change for me. And as I said, same thing with skin or hair. None of that has seemed to change. Now, again, we're only a couple months in. Maybe there will be a change. I don't know. We'll see. But there's one thing, the biggest change that I have seen, the biggest positive attribute, because we're looking at overall, right? We're not just looking at the morning, we're looking at overall. Here's the biggest change I've noticed. What is the biggest change? Since I started drinking water first thing in the morning, I am now drinking more water all day long. That has been a huge game changer for me. This is causing me, the drinking of the water all day is causing me to feel better throughout the whole day. Better than I have felt when I wouldn't start my day drinking water. So I've also seen a little slight difference in the bowel movements. They've been a little bit more cleaner. We'll leave it at that. I've had sometimes mood changes, mood escalating, feeling better and feeling a little happier, maybe as I've been drinking more water. And since I seem to have more of a mood regulation and more of a motivation regulation, we'll call it, it seems like I am able to regulate my emotions, my responses, my environment, or my response to my environment a little better. And so for me personally, if we count me as the study here, it has given me some positive effects. Not every positive effect that I mentioned, like the weight loss and skin care and, whatever, detoxifying. Sometimes you'll see that in research. Well, if you drink water in the morning, you're detoxifying. There's a lot that goes into detoxifying, right? But the kickstart to me being able to drink water all day is the biggest benefit that I've seen. Now, what does that mean for you? Well, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this episode and how I set this whole season up, it is that advice works for you in a way that you can weave it into your life best. Everybody's different. Everybody's body is different. And so the way that you do things is going to be a little differently than the way I do them or the way that somebody else does. And when you find this little sweet spot of, hey, you know what? I've got this new tool here where I can try this water in the morning and see how my day plays out. It's worth giving it a shot, I personally think. Maybe you start slower in the morning. Maybe you just drink 2 ounces or 6 ounces, or maybe you drink a cup. And I mean a cup like a measuring cup of water. Maybe you play with the temperature. See how it's doing for you. The only person who knows your body chemistry and the way your body reacts to things is you. So the best way to figure out how to get more water into your body is to perhaps start with feeding yourself some water in the morning. And it's the first thing I do now in the morning. It is the very first thing. It used to be coffee. The very first thing I did as soon as I got up was I would go make coffee. Now it's water, then coffee. And I have found that my mind now goes immediately to wanting the water, because we know from doing past research, and I've talked about habits, and I've talked about the way that habits can turn into routines, and habits start to mirror each other and they become one, and you start doing the same things over and over again that are healthy for you. We've seen that when you do that, your body craves things that are healthy, much like you can create habits like smoking cigarettes or nicotine, that you'll start doing those things and your body will continue to want the craving, right? So your body works like that in positive ways too. It's just a matter of how is it going to work for you. You know people who have smoked 1 pack a day, 2 packs a day, and some people who smoke 2 cigarettes a day. So everybody's different. And so how can this work for you? How could the water intake work for you? Well, only you're going to know that. So I'm anxious to know, have you tried drinking water in the morning? Have you had success with it? Not success with it? There's no right or wrong answer, but to be open to trying something new and having some fun with trying it is also important. How can you have fun with drinking water in the morning? Sing right before you drink the water, right? Hum something, right? Down the water and then write yourself a nice poem, or look out the window and say something silly or say something funny to whoever's in the house with you. Make it fun for yourself. The more stuff you make fun, the easier it is to do it. And so as we move on through this season and these episodes continue, we're going to explore more ways to have a lot of fun, more ways to take care of ourselves, more ways to experience things together, because that's what this is all about. Learning how to gain some more freedom and strength through our practice of yoga, which includes drinking water, right? Even though you may not call it a practice of yoga, you're still practicing a practice. And that water drinking is essential. And so it's really helped me. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because maybe it will help you. It helped me to intake more water through my day, making me feel like a happier, more fulfilled, and healthier person. So until the next time, go drink your water and keep tuned into the Strength, Yoga, and Freedom podcast and my social media channels. You can find those in the show notes and all of that stuff. Follow along. We're going to have fun. And I can't wait to see you next week on this podcast. So until then, I'm wishing you a lot of love. I'm wishing you a lot of happiness, a lot of freedom. You know why? You deserve all of that. You deserve it. So I'll see you next time, everybody.